I actually had some optimism and hope about the Senate race because I thought that Brian Kemp, he was going to run for the seat. I really thought that he was smart enough to realize, oh, wait a minute, this is a free Senate seat for me. If I run, I win, and it benefits the party. So it's a win for everybody, and if I really want to run for president in 2028, I could still do that. I could just do that after I run for the Senate seat in 2026. And a lot of people, including myself, thought, okay, he's going to run for the Senate seat, and if he wants to run for president, go right ahead. That would have made the most sense. I mean, dude, you're going to beat Jon Ossoff. If you ran for the seat, you would win easily. I mean, every poll right now has you absolutely killing Jon Ossoff. Every poll, you're up by 3, 7, 6 points. Every poll has you winning. Yet for whatever reason, Brian Kemp, this principled conservative, just announced he is not running for the Senate seat. And for those that are wondering, yes, it is official. Over the last few weeks, I have had many conversations with friends, supporters, and leaders across the country who encouraged me to run for the U.S. Senate in 2026. I greatly appreciate their support and prayers for our family. After those discussions, I had decided that being on the ballot next year is not the right decision for me and my family. Yeah, it is official. Brian Kemp will not be running for the U.S. Senate in 2026. I'm sick of this guy. This bozo, including the guy in New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, these two morons, for whatever reason, are passing up unwinnable Senate seats. Like, seriously, Kemp, you're in a Trump plus 2 state. Georgia, while it is shifting more to the left, you would win the state by like 5 points. Jon Ossoff is a very overrated candidate. You're a popular governor. And yeah, you had some issues with Trump here and there, but more than likely, the Trump base would have got behind you right away. They would be like, okay, you're better than Ossoff, and yeah, you had some issues with Trump, but you've been an all-right governor. But for whatever reason, this clown is saying, no, I can't run for the Senate seat for whatever reason. This was a gimme. This was such a winnable race that if you look at the electoral map, if he would have ran, he would have won. And at that point, it doesn't matter what happens in Michigan, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Maine. It doesn't matter. In this scenario, the GOP would have a 2-seat majority in the Senate. Yeah, they would lose 1 seat, but that's a worst-case scenario, or I should say a bad scenario. But Brian Kemp, for whatever reason, decided, you know what, I don't have to run. I'm not going to run. And there's been a lot of speculation that he is not running in 2026, not because he wants to take a step back from politics. No. Apparently, he wants to run for president in 28. Yeah, the Republican Party, everybody. This party is so incompetent that they can't even win properly. They don't know how to win. Like, listen, if you want to run for president in 2028, that's one thing. But to decline to run a very winnable Senate race, I mean, this is a race that if you would have ran, you would have won the primary easily, and you would have beaten Jon Ossoff by a bunch. And then if you wanted to run for president, go right ahead. If you would have done that, yeah, that would have been annoying, but at the bare minimum, you're in the Senate, you're a Republican vote, that's good. But nope, this guy is so egotistical, he's an ever-Trumper. That's what it comes down to. This guy does not want Trump to have wins. So, he's not going to run for the Senate seat for no reason, and instead, more than likely, is going to run for president in 2028. You just can't make this up. And now this is the second seat this cycle where we could have won, but then our strong candidate at the last second said, nah, I'm not going to run. For those that are wondering, New Hampshire's the first one. Yeah, it's a fairly Democrat state. I mean, Harris won it by only 3, but it's been a more Democrat state in recent years. But Chris Sununu, the former Republican governor, would have won. He's popular up there. He's not perfect, but he would have won. So, if both Chris Sununu and Brian Kemp ran, which they should have, I mean, there's no reason not to, Republicans would have 53 Senate seats, even if they lose Maine, Michigan, North Carolina. They lose all three of these states, they would still be at 53. And who knows, maybe Susan Collins wins Maine. Maybe Tom Tillis wins North Carolina. Hell, maybe Mike Rogers pulls off the upset in Michigan. Do you see the problem here? These two morons potentially cost us a huge majority. For no reason. They're just doing it because they hate Orange Man. That's the truth in it. They would rather spite the Orange Man and run for president in 2028, which, let's be clear, you're not winning the primary. There are no Republican voters in Iowa, even New Hampshire, that would vote for you. J.D. Vance is going to be the nominee in 2028 unless something absolutely crazy occurs. And that's a problem here. They can't win the primary. It's the same thing that happened with DeSantis in 2023 and 24. His people told him, oh, if you run for president, you're going to stop the Orange Man. You're going to win the primary easily. Yeah, how did that go? The same thing is happening yet again. But okay, Brian Kemp is out of the race, which I'm just baffled by. I mean, seriously, you run for the seat, dude. You only have to run for one term, and if you want to retire early, go ahead. But all you had to do was run for the seat, and theoretically, you could have used it as momentum for 2028. Think about it. If he would have won the Georgia Senate race by like 5 or 6, he would have been seen as an overperformer, an electorally strong candidate, and somebody that could maybe run for president. He could have done that, but no. This guy would rather do whatever he's doing now than be a team player. And this is why the Republican Party keeps losing. But okay, you look at the other candidates, and there are some other options. You know, Brian Kemp was our best option, but sadly, he's not going to run, which is just stupid. But you look at the other candidates, and you do got somebody like Buddy Carter. Mike Collins, I think, is going to run. Rich McCormick might run. John King. You know, you got some candidates here and there that they could do decent. I think Jon Ossoff is now the favorite, but somebody like Mike Collins could do pretty good with the Trump base. I could see that happening. But the problem is, well, it's not going to be somebody like Mike Collins, more than likely. Not somebody like Buddy Carter. No. More than likely, it's going to be Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah. If she runs, she's winning the primary by a lot. I don't see how she loses. The only way she can lose the primary is if by some miracle Trump opposes her, which is that possible? Maybe. Is that likely? No. That's the problem. We are now going to be stuck with MTG, which I made a whole video on this. MTG is a very weak candidate electorally. She doesn't even appease the Trump base anymore. It's like, why would you support her? And you look at the hypothetical polling, she's awful. I mean, look at this. D plus 11, plus 17, plus 12. The polling looks awful for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And yeah, it doesn't look that good for somebody like Mike Collins, but he's only down by 5 points. And considering the fact he's not as well known as MTG or whatever, being down by 5 against an incumbent, that's not the end of the world. MTG's different because everyone knows who she is. It's not like, oh, 5% of people know and 95% don't. No, people know who MTG is, especially in Georgia, and they don't like her. They hate her. She's unpopular, even with the Republican base. I mean, of all the potential candidates, she's the only one that gets crushed this badly. Even somebody like John King, who no one ever heard about, at least you could say he's, you know, low name recognition, and Jon Ossoff is barely above 50. MTG's getting crushed with universal name ID, and Ossoff is clearly getting above or at 50% already. So it's not looking good for MTG whatsoever, but there is some good news. Apparently, Trump wants freshman Congressman Brian Jack to run. All right, he's a freshman, and I hope he runs. I mean, listen, anything to stop MTG, because my fear is if Brian Kemp, or I should say Brian Jack, if he doesn't run, we're going to end up with somebody like Taylor Greene, and we're going to get absolutely crushed. I mean, this map looked so good just 5 minutes ago. I mean, it looked great. We had a chance to pick up 2 Senate seats. But now, if it's MTG or whatever, you're in trouble in Georgia. And that's the problem. Like, we're not in a good situation in Georgia or New Hampshire. At least New Hampshire, we got somebody that could maybe run, like Scott Brown. But Georgia, that primary looks awful no matter who runs and wins. And more than likely, you're going to see MTG run. And if she does run, she's probably going to win the primary. But okay, maybe there's a chance that Trump backs somebody like Brian Jack and we're going to win, all right? Surely we're not going to get stuck with MTG. Well, I regret to inform everybody, we have a problem with this. Redline politics, for those that don't know, he's a good guy, but every time he predicts something, it seems like the opposite occurs. And he just said, I can assure you with 100% confidence that MTG will not be your Republican nominee for senator in Georgia. Yeah. So, in other words, we're getting stuck with MTG. You know, I'm just getting that gut feeling we're gonna get stuck with her. Like, no, nothing gets red line. It's kind of a meme. Like, that's kind of the inside joke. Like, oh, anything he says, the opposite happens. But I really believe we're getting stuck with MTG. The only positive is she's out of the house. We never have to worry about MTG ever again. But the problem is, you could have had a pickup here. This could have been an opportunity to flip Georgia. And if we would have won Georgia, we would have had a real majority. And now, is it possible MTG could maybe win? I guess. Maybe she could pull off a weird upset if something crazy happens, I guess. But let's be honest here. She's not going to win. MTG has no pathway to winning. I'm just hoping Trump does not support her, but I'm fearful that he's going to back her because nobody else is going to run, and she's probably second on the short list. It was, I should say third. It was probably Brian Kemp. That was the original plan. Now it's Brian Jack. I'm hoping Trump runs, or he runs because Trump would back him. Or we get stuck with MTG. Not good whatsoever. No matter how you try to spin it, we're in trouble. We are in deep trouble in Georgia. I just can't get over this. I really thought this guy was going to run. I didn't think he was this dumb. But go right ahead. If you want to run for president in 2028, go right ahead. You're going to get absolutely crushed. Vance is going to win like 80% of the vote in Iowa. You may crack 5%. Maybe 10% if you're lucky. But this guy would rather run for president when everyone knows it's going to be Vance. I mean, it's Vance Rubio. That's the nominee right there. It's going to be Vance as president, Rubio as VP. But for whatever reason, morons like Brian Kemp and Chris Sununu, they're not going to run for the Senate seat. Even though it's a very winnable race and they should run to be a team player, but they would rather run for president in 5 years and get crushed. I mean, dude, your political career is dead. This move killed your political career. It just did, because you're not going to win the primary for the president. You're just not. I don't get what these consultants are telling Kemp and Sununu, but get rid of them. They clearly suck. You're not going to beat Vance. But if they really believe they can go beat Vance, go right ahead. See what happens. Just don't expect anybody to vote for you. You're going to get like 5 to 10% at most. It's pathetic that we're in this situation. We should have won Georgia by a lot, but no, we're going to get stuck with MTG or whoever, and Democrats are given a massive win. It's awful. Brian Kemp is awful. I don't get why he's doing this. Just run for the Senate seat. If you want to run for president, fine. Do that after the fact. At least be a senator for a couple of years and give us the majority. But no, you can't even do that. It's awful. What is happening right now is awful. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.